My name is Michael Finch, and I'm a drug and alcohol counselor and the co-founder of Embrace Recovery. I'm also a substance abuse professional, which allows me to assess individuals for treatment. I assess if they need treatment, how much treatment they need, what kind of treatment, if they have a problem or not, and then they're required to follow up with my recommendation and meet with me afterwards. Part of doing that, though, is to assess do they really have a problem? Some of the questions I ask, we use 3 or 4 different methods. Of course, I use the DSM-4 to differentiate between substance abuse versus dependency. And usually the main difference is dependency is the physical dependency, the withdrawal. If the person is starting to experience any withdrawal at any time in a 12-month period, that's a sign where the person might be dependent. Abuse is driving under the influence. They abused the substance and they drove under the influence. Whether they got caught or not is another story, but if you've driven under the influence once within a 12-month period, yeah, you're definitely abusing the substance. So those are some of the questions that I ask. There's 4 simple questions, actually. It's called a CAGE screening that I also use, and CAGE, the C stands for, have you tried to cut down at any time? Do you try to control your drinking or using? The A is, do you feel angry or anxious when confronted with your drinking or using? The G stands for, do you feel guilty the next day? Or do you feel guilty, several days later from your drinking or using? And the E is the eye opener. Whether you woke up at 9 in the morning and started using, or whether you woke up at 1, did you need a drink or a drug to get going? If you've answered yes to any of those questions, there's definite indication that it's a problem. It's at least starting to edge into chemical dependency, where your body is needing it to function. And there's where you can come to us and we'll explore ways of getting your mind back on track so you can learn how to function effectively without the drugs and alcohol. There's another screening that I use, and it's called a MAST screening, M-A-S-T. Some of the questions are, do your friends or family think you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, or do you feel that your using or drinking is normal? Can you stop using without any kind of struggle? Whether once you've started that night, can you just have a couple and then stop, no big deal? And can you do that on a regular basis? Or is it once you start, you have difficulty stopping, or that's all you're thinking about if you do stop? A few other questions on that. Have you gotten into any fights while using? Has your spouse or family ever gone to anyone for help about your drinking or using? That's usually an indicator that there's a problem. Have you ever been arrested, or has it ever affected your job? I look at it as what causes problems is one. And if you've gotten in trouble because of drug or alcohol use, then that's a problem. Now, if you've answered yes to any of those questions, as I mentioned, there's a chance that you're at least falling into the category of substance abuse and probably dependency. Once you start to recognize that you answered yes to a couple of these, it's only going to get worse. So, no questions asked. Feel free to come in for a free assessment, make an appointment. I'll gladly assess, did you just have a bad night last night and think there's a problem, or is this developing into a pattern? And once we assess you, we can either treat you here at Embrace Recovery, or if you're not quite ready for full treatment, I've referred people to our family therapist, Rosemary, to kind of do some one-on-one counseling once a week. Or if you really need the residential treatment, aren't ready for outpatient, we can refer you to some residential treatment and follow up with us for outpatient. So thank you.